If you're scared to get lost when you will be traveling to France, well, you will need to ask questions to locals, and that's exactly what we will learn today. Bonjour tout le monde, I'm Cassie, your French tutor, so you can discover France the French way. And today we're gonna ask questions in French. So not only I'm gonna give you the main questions, the toolkits you need when you travel to France, but I will also teach you how to structure a question and how to recognize when somebody is asking you something. Alors t'es prêt? On y va! You know when I'm telling you that there is not only one way to speak a language, but it's a matter of choices? It's exactly what's going on with French questions. I swear, I mean it. There are three different structures when it comes to asking a question in French. So you have the textbook one. I'm pretty sure you've learned this one. So you take the subject, you take the verb, and you switch them. This one is correct. It is technically correct. I want you to forget about it. It does not exist anymore. Why? Because it sounds super posh. So, it does not exist. What I want you to learn is with est-ce que. Est-ce que. And I saw on social media people trying to explain each and every word of this structure. Please don't. Take it as one word only. Est-ce que. That's it. It would be the equivalent of do in English in a question. So for example, you take a normal sentence. You want coffee. If you ask, do you want coffee? It becomes a question, right? Same in French. Tu veux du café? Est-ce que tu veux du café? Simple, isn't it? This one is probably the most neutral, but also the most common way to ask a question. Especially if you are in a situation where you're traveling to France as a tourist, you may not feel comfortable enough with people, well, you just met, to use the third way to ask a question, which is just to take a normal sentence and having your intonation going up at the end. Tu veux du café? Tu veux du café? That's all it takes. Even though it may be a bit informal, imagine you're lost in France and you forgot the two other ways to ask a question. Go for this one. Take a normal sentence, maybe one that you already know, and have your voice going up at the end. People won't be mad at you, no worries. At the end of your question, if you want to be extra polite, you will add s'il vous plaît. If you use tu, if you tutoies the person you're talking to, then you will say s'il te plaît. But I'm picturing you in the streets of a French city, I don't know which one. I want to say Paris, but let's take another one than Paris. So yeah, you don't know the person, it is best to keep it to s'il vous plaît. And when somebody answers your question, what you will say is merci or merci beaucoup. Depends how polite or thankful you are, or both. So what I said in the previous part was about, yes or no questions. So there are simple questions, only yes or no as an answer. But if you need more information, you will need to add question words to your questions. Question words to your questions. Makes sense. So what do we have? Que ou quoi, that is what. Que if it is at the beginning of the sentence, quoi if it is at the end. Où will be where. And you don't forget the accent on top of the U. Quand. Quand is when. Pourquoi. Pourquoi, enough on its own, it is why. Technically, it is for what. For what reason? Pourquoi. Then we switch to comment. Comment. This one is how. And then we have combien. Combien. This one is kind of strange for English speakers because it will be either how many or how much. We don't really differentiate between the two. How much, how many, we're asking about quantity here. So, combien. And last but not least, qui. qui. This one is to ask who, whom, qui. Now I'm gonna teach you a few questions that I phrased for you, and I would suggest that you learn them as they are, or at least you understand the structure and learn the main vocabulary so you can ask them if you need when you travel to France. So first, we're gonna ask for help. It may happen that you need help, I don't know, so let's start with this one. Before you stop a stranger in the streets, you will start with bonjour, excusez-moi. And if you feel like, you want to learn as many words as you can, bonjour, excusez-moi de vous déranger. Then you continue with your questions. So in the questions that I'm gonna give you, we will go for the est-ce que. As I said, it is the most neutral way to ask a question. It is very common, so est-ce que. And I know the spelling of that word seems a bit overwhelming, complicated, etc. But just learn est-ce que. Imagine it written like this, and that's all you need to pronounce it. So no extra complicated hyphens, whatever. Est-ce que. That's all you need. Okay? On y va. If you need help, you don't specify what, just help. Est-ce que vous pouvez m'aider? Est-ce que vous pouvez m'aider, s'il vous plaît? If you want to be extra polite again. So here you're just asking for help, you're not specifying anything. Maybe your French is not good enough, or you're in a hurry, you're panicking, so you want the other person to speak English. Ask politely again. Est-ce que vous parlez anglais? Est-ce que vous parlez anglais? Est-ce que vous parlez espagnol? Est-ce que vous parlez allemand? Whatever your language is. Of course, it is more likely that people speak English, but you never know. You can ask. That's what we're here for anyway. Now let's say you don't understand the answer, because if you ask something in French, you can expect the other person to answer in French. So you could say, excusez-moi, est-ce que vous pouvez répéter? Can you repeat? And again, s'il vous plaît. You can also ask, est-ce que vous pouvez parler plus lentement? Lentement is slowly, so can you speak slower? Plus lentement. Technically, more slowly, so slower. Okay, if you find it useful so far, don't hesitate to, like the video, subscribe to the channel, because you're gonna have way more videos like that helping you to survive in France. And we continue with questions that can be useful in transportation or if you're asking for directions. You probably know être. Je suis, tu es, il est, whatever. Because we're gonna ask about, something, it is going to be il est, juste est. So remember how to ask where? You tell me, yes, it is où. So if you want to ask where is something, that would be où est, whatever you want. Où est, blah blah blah. You could ask où est-ce que blah blah est, but then it's a mouthful. So when it becomes a bit complicated to ask with est-ce que, it's best to go to verb and then subject. You have a few exceptions like that. Again, usually if you only use that way of asking a question, that would sound way too posh. But in this situation, if est-ce que truly becomes a mouthful, forget about it. So, où est, whatever. Could be le métro, could be l'hôtel, le restaurant, le Louvre, whatever you want. Excusez-moi, où est le métro Châtelet-Les Halles? Now, instead of asking where, you're gonna ask how. Do you remember what how is? Comment? Comment est-ce qu'on va wherever you want to go? Comment est-ce qu'on va au Louvre? That's how. So imagine you don't know if you need to take a train, a bus, metro, if you can go by foot, taxi, whatever. Comment? Comment can be either the directions, how you go there, like which way. Excusez-moi, comment on va au métro? Or the transportation way. So comment? Is it by train? Is it by metro? Is it by foot? Comment works in both situations. So now let's say you're in front of a train, you're in front of a metro, but you're not sure where it goes or if it goes to where you actually want to go. So the question would be, est-ce que ça va wherever you want to go? Est-ce que ça va au Louvre, à Versailles? Again, wherever you want. So ça va, usually you know it as how is it going? Well, here we want to know if the thing you have in front of you is going somewhere. So that's why it is the same structure, the same words. Ça refers to what you have in front of you. But if you know how to say it, you can. For example, est-ce que ce train va à Versailles? Now maybe you don't really know where you need to go, but you have a vague idea. For example, you're looking for a bakery, you're looking for a library. Où, remember, where, où est-ce que je peux trouver, find, where do you find it? Où est-ce que je peux trouver whatever you're looking for? Où est-ce que je peux trouver une boulangerie, s'il vous plaît? And now I'm gonna go one step further, a bit more specific, not a simple structure, but I think it can be useful for you. À quelle heure est-ce que ce train, ce métro, cet avion part? And then you're asking for, well, at what time does it go? At what time does it leave? So you've managed to find a very nice restaurant, a bakery, or I don't know, a mall, like you wanted to do shopping, who knows? So you're gonna ask a few things to the seller or the waiter, right? So I guess the most important one, and it will be again with how, combien, will be combien ça coûte. How much does it cost? Combien ça coûte? Ça, again, is this or that. We tend to use it for both. Ça, this or that. And I know that some people, maybe on social media or elsewhere, they will say, no, this is ceci, that is cela. I barely hear these words in France. So, ça, for both. That's all you need. That's all I need. So let's not complicate things here. Okay? On continue. Okay, then remember before we used être, c'est, il est, etc. We're gonna use avoir this time. Donc, est-ce que vous avez? And then whatever you want. So this question is, do you have blah blah blah. Est-ce que vous avez des recommandations? Est-ce que vous avez des options végétariennes? And if you want to be super polite and you know they have what you want, you can ask, est-ce que je pourrais avoir whatever you want? In a bakery, for example, est-ce que je pourrais avoir une baguette? Est-ce que je pourrais avoir l'addition, s'il vous plaît? And if you're not sure how to say whatever you want, you can just point it with your finger. Est-ce que je peux avoir ça? And last one, it is time to pay. Est-ce que vous acceptez l'American Express? I think if you learn all that, you will be more than equipped to survive in the streets of any French city. Now, of course, it is good to, get a bit comfortable with listening to French so you understand the answer. Okay, all that is a very good start. Now you're gonna survive in the streets of any French city, that's for sure. Now, if you want to know other useful sentences, not only questions, but sentences that you can say in French restaurants, I advise that you watch this video next. À la semaine prochaine. Salut!